Here's another YouTube tip. If you think you're a pretty obscure YouTuber and no one ever watches your videos, don't skip out on some of the research you might want to do for your list, because it might be your second highest viewed video on your entire channel, and someday you might get a couple thousand more subscribers, and then people watch that video and you look like an idiot. So thanks to everybody who commented on my last top 10 worst Black Series figure video about how Obi-Wan and Anakin connected their lightsabers to their belts. I actually learned something from a lot of you over and over and over again. I get it. I was wrong. It's been over a year since I did my top 10 video of the worst Star Wars Black Series figures, according to me. But I've had a year to think about some things you guys have said. I've had a year to think about life in general, and a couple more figures have come out since. So hi, I'm Mike, and this is my top 10 worst Star Wars The Black Series figures, Redux. I don't know if I'm going to do this every year, but I definitely feel like my video needs an update and a follow-up. I have all of them available currently, except for wave 2 of the 40th anniversary figures. I also don't have that new wave that maybe is popping up soon or not with Lando. So if you're watching this and those have come out and there's a terrible figure in that wave, then it didn't make it in because they're not available yet. This is everything available right now. So let's get right into it. Top 10. Number 10, this is 40th anniversary GameStop exclusive R5-D4. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he's a bad figure, but he's not only full price. GameStop's full price is like $3 more than a normal full price. So on top of being slightly more expensive, he's just a tiny droid, and unlike R2-D2, who comes with a lot of accessories, this guy has absolutely nothing, although he is just a repaint and a remold of R2-D2. The body is the exact same but repainted. It does have a nice paint job on it, but the head is a new mold. It's actually a repaint from the Droid 3-pack that came out last summer, I think, for Toys R Us exclusive. I don't remember when. So he's just, for the price, not wowing me. He does retain a lot of the same things that R2 had with the removable side pieces for that rocket pack to go on, and if you have the R2-D2, you can put those accessories on here. He does have opening panels on the front with the little slide out grabber hand and data port thing. So he has that, which is great, and honestly I don't know what else I would want him to come with. Certainly not guns and a firing rocket, but I don't know, maybe less expensive. For $23 retail, you're just not getting a lot. And what's worse is if you're a collector like me, you have to get them. It's like Hasbro knows that you're gonna fork out that money, and they want that money. So he's number 10. He's not the worst figure. He is technically the best of this list, if that means anything to you. He looks good on the shelf. The paint looks good, although mine has a bent antenna right out of the package. I can fix that up with a little hot water. Overall, I'm just not impressed with the money that I spent for what he is. I just feel like I threw $20 away just to have a hole on my shelf filled. Does that make sense? I guess that's the life of a collector. Number 9 is Luke Skywalker in his Tatooine clothes. Now this was the regular carded release, although there is a 40th anniversary re-release that just came out. They're identical. There's no differences. They come with the same accessories. He has a pair of binoculars and he has a lightsaber. He has an okay likeness to Mark Hamill, but the soft goods cloak just isn't doing him any favors. He's just kind of plain and boring. If he had come with some extra accessories, like a stormtrooper gun or a stormtrooper belt, you know, something that happened to him while he wore this in the entirety of the New Hope movie, it would have bumped him up. I could have overlooked the really bad soft goods cloak. He's just a bunch of wasted potential. So that's why he's number 9 on this list. Not awful. I don't hate that I own him, but he could have been so much more. Number 8 is actually a holdover from my previous list. This is Poe Dameron in his X-Wing pilot uniform. He's mostly on here because of still the awful paint job. Someone told me they released an updated version of his head, but I have yet to see it. He just looks so sad. He actually looks more like Ian McShane than Oscar Isaac to me. I just don't think he looks very good. Paint-wise, sculpt-wise, it's just not there to me. On top of that, while he has a lot of great detail in his pilot's uniform, his X-Wing helmet is great. He comes with a fun little gun with a holster, that's all cool. He also comes with an extra set of hands for like a non-gloved look. Well, it's neat that they want to give extra accessories to him. I'm not really complaining that extra accessories are there, but why? There are a lot of other figures that Hasbro has released in this line that should have extra heads or hands or whatever, and they don't, and I don't know why. I could go on and on with examples of characters that should have extra hands, extra faces for different scenes and different poses. This guy gets it though. This guy This is the one you chose to give us an extra pair of hands so we could have hands without gloves on? Really? Really? Try harder next time. Or try the same amount, but on different figures, I guess. But try harder in the face, because this is Ian McShane. This is not Oscar Isaac. Number 7 is Yoda. He's actually moved up, down. He moved from number 6 to number 7 on this list. So he's less bad now, more bad. He's still bad. He's moved up on the list, but that's down in general. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but Yoda is still on this list. He suffers from the same problem that I feel like R5-D4 suffers from, in the fact that he is such a tiny character, but you still have to pay 20 bucks. Now, they did try to make up for it. They gave him a snake like the original Empire Strikes Back Yoda had. He has a lightsaber. If you want to recreate episode 3 Yoda, which is cool, but he just doesn't look like episode 3 Yoda. He looks like a Yoda who's been on a swamp planet for 20 years. And that is this Yoda's biggest problem. It's cool that he comes with his cane. I'm glad they tried to put some extra accessories in there, but I still feel a little ripped off that I paid $20 for this little figure. And on top of that, just like I said on my last video, his robe is just constantly, I have like 3 pieces of robe right here from holding this. I'm surprised that this robe hasn't disintegrated on its shelf. The robe is just, it's trashy and it's poorly made. And I know that might be on purpose because Yoda should look like he's been on a swamp planet, because he has been. But I don't also want to feel like my figure's clothes are going to fall apart if a strong gust of wind comes through and knocks him over or disintegrates the robe and he's left on my shelf naked. That'd be weird. Rounding down to the bottom of the top 5. The top of the bottom 5? I'm not getting into that again. Number 6 on my list is Jabba the Hutt. Now, a lot of people didn't like that he was on my list last time because, I mean, I'll admit, he's not a bad figure. He's got that fun dino feel skin. Someone even told me that if you try really hard, you can get this to rotate further. The reason he's on my list, though, is that he's $40 and he comes with nothing but himself. I just can't. I mean, I know he's a slug, so having minimal articulation isn't a big deal. Like, he looks good. The paint is great. He's got a lot of great detail on him, but for $40, that's as much as 2 figures, and you just get this. No sled, no Salacious Crumb. I know the San Diego Comic-Con version came with that. I'm not gonna shell out that much money, and Comic-Con is a bitch to get into, so I'm not gonna do the convention exclusives to get what we should have in the first place. Getting just this was somewhat insulting. He's still number 6 on my top 10 worst figures, although he has moved up from number 4. Right smack dab in the middle of the list, number 5 is Princess Leia as Jabba's slave or Jabba's prisoner. I mean, whatever you want to say there, if you're offended by the fact that she was a slave. If you want to say prisoner, sure, but prisoners usually just sit in a cell. Han Solo was Jabba's prisoner. Jabba didn't make Han Solo wear a gold bikini and dance for him and be really awkward tongue stuff with him. He did that with Leia. That's not something you do with a prisoner. That's a slave thing. It's not good, but that's what she is. She's number 5 on my list because she's still not great. She has awkward looking joints because they're all there. There's no covering those joints. She's just skin. You can see everything. Her kneecaps look really weird. Her likeness to Carrie Fisher, rest in peace, is not great. But you can honestly say that about every Princess Leia figure out so far, with an exception, but we'll get there. This also has the same problem that Yoda has, where her skirt falls apart, and it's really annoying. Now, I have her in this pose because she sits on my shelf next to Jabba the Hutt, because to me, she's essentially Jabba the Hutt's accessory. She looks good posed like this, and I didn't want to get her out of this pose for filming her for 5 minutes and then putting her back into it. It's too much work. She looks fine like this. You can see her. I'll take pictures. Whatever. Sorry. Not sorry. It was also a weird choice for Wave 2. Of all the figures that people wanted to see as a 6-inch, your second wave, only, I think this is like number 5 or 6. You choose Slave Leia? Really? Of all the figures, Wave 2, Slave Leia. Really? That early? That early on? No. No. That was a bad choice. You should have given it time, develop things like better face sculpts, better ways to hide the knees. I don't know. I figured like this could have been a better figure had they not released it like right away. It's just a weird choice so early in the line. And number 4 on my list is the first figure that actively makes me mad when I think about it. This is Resistance Base, Episode 7 C-3PO. The reason I don't like this isn't because I paid $20 for a figure that doesn't come with accessories. I mean, it kind of is, but not why you're thinking. They didn't have to release 2 different C-3POs. They had the Walgreens one that looked like it did in A New Hope, and they have this one. And the only difference between this one and that one is the stupid red arm and silver leg. Those could have been alternate pieces that came with one C-3PO, and you can change it out to look like however you want. And if you want to have both on your shelf, you can buy 2 of them. But no, Hasbro wanted that money, and they're selling you a completely different C-3PO just because it has a red arm. And that just makes me real mad. I hate that I own this. I hate that I wanted to buy this to have a complete collection. It's just pure money grubbery. It's terrible. This was greed, 100%. Stupid greed. And then moving one spot up, number 3 on my list, who was previously number 2, is Constable Zuvio. And I hate that he's on my list because I feel like had he actually been in episode 7, he wouldn't be on this list. I feel like he actually looks really good, but he was an infinite peg warmer because he wasn't in the movie. No one recognized him, so no one wanted him. And it just sucks that they made a figure. They wasted a figure slot that could have been something else much more interesting. I could think of like 20 other characters from episode 7 I would rather have taken his spot than a figure that didn't even make it into the movie. And it's stupid that he's on my shelf. It's stupid that they put so much time into sculpting him and into making him when they just cut him from the movie. It sucks. And I know they don't always have control over that. For all intents and purposes, he doesn't exist in the Star Wars movies. He's not a Star Wars movie character. I mean, he is and he isn't. It's a weird gray area to me because unless it's actually the movie, I don't think it's canon to the movie. If I remember like how that works. Disney could have been like, hey, that Zuvio figure, we're cutting him out of the movie. Don't worry about making him. And yet we're stuck with this guy who looks pretty cool, but isn't a Star Wars character. And the number 2 figure who was my number 1 slot last time, Emperor Palpatine. He's still terrible. Well, he has better soft goods than previous characters with soft goods. It's not great. It fits around him really awkwardly. He only comes with the one accessory, that's his cane, and that cane is too short to actually touch the ground. So as a cane, it doesn't even work. And I can think of like 50 different accessories this guy could have come with. Alternate hands with lightning. And it makes me even madder that I got a figure back here, Marvel Legends, Marvel's Eel, and he has hands with lightning coming off of his fingers, and they could have done that here. They could have just done that. Make his hands removable, put on electric finger hands, and you've got yourself a fantastic Emperor Palpatine. It would have been great. Make him come with a lightsaber. He used one in episode 3. They made Yoda also an episode 3 figure by including a lightsaber with him because he never used that in the original trilogy. There's so many things they could have done with this, but they didn't because they're lazy. I would have actually even paid $40 for this figure had he had the ability to sit and come with his throne. But they gave him hard plastic goods on the bottom down here, so he can't even sit if I even want to make him a throne, which is just more stupidity. This was an all-around bad attempt at making an Emperor Palpatine, and I hope that they fix this soon, because Emperor Palpatine, Sheev Palpatine? No, I refuse to call him that. Emperor Palpatine deserves so much more than that. So much more. So here we are, almost done. Before I hit number 1, I do want to throw out my honorable mentions because I do have a couple of honorable mentions that should be on this list. Number 1 is Finn. He's just super boring. He was on my top 10 worst last time. He looks like Tracy Morgan and he's really boring looking. I don't know. I'm not a fan. IG-88's also on here, mostly just because he doesn't stand up. I've tried dipping them in hot water and straightening them out, but I cannot get him to stand up straight for the life of me. He looks good. He just doesn't stand up. So I have to lean him against the wall, and that makes me sad. Next is the Resistance Fighter from episode 7, mostly just because he looks boring. He doesn't look bad, he just doesn't look Star Wars to me, and it's not necessarily his fault. That's mostly the movie's fault. He looks how he should. I don't really care that I have him. I could forget that I had him and go on with my life and be fine. And last honorable mention is Princess Leia from episode 4. She would have been on my list and much higher on my list, but they did fix her face for the 40th anniversary relaunch, and because of that, I took her off the list. But this version, which is still in my collection, gets an honorable mention because she's still bad. Her face doesn't look like Carrie Fisher. It looks like Carrie Fisher's stunt double. So you can find her. I definitely recommend the new one. So, number 1, Phase 2, Darth Vader. Probably the biggest thing that I got on my last video comment-wise was, where's Darth Vader? Darth Vader is the worst. Darth Vader should be number 1. Yeah, I get it. When I made that list, I had Darth Vader, but I was severely in denial. I wanted to like him so badly because I love Darth Vader. I feel like a lot of things they tried with the removable helmet and the helmet being in 2 different pieces. But there's a lot of really cool stuff they try to do there, and I didn't want to admit that they failed so hard at it. And I actually didn't think he was all that bad, honestly. Like, I knew he wasn't great, but I didn't think he was very bad until I got the new Black Series Darth Vader. It's like night and day. I was like, oh, this is what a Darth Vader should be like, not this. It's so weird how getting something so much better makes you realize what you have is just really bad. His proportions are weird. His cape is too big. He doesn't have a place to put his lightsaber, and his face just looks so sad. So yeah, he is number 1 on my spot. This is probably the worst Black Series figure made so far. It was the first one they really made an entirely new figure to correct, and rightly so. Because Darth Vader is iconic, and you have to get a good one in your collection. They can't mess up like that. Like, that's just egregious. But this is still in my collection, and now it kind of makes me sad. So that's it for my top 10 worst Star Wars Black Series figures. Let me know in the comments what you think this time. Did I get it better? Did I get it worse? Do you have some that you feel should be on the list? Did I put some on the list that you don't feel should be there? Let me know. We can have a fun discussion on it just like last time. So go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you want to help me out, there'll be a link in the description for Ripped Apparel. If you see any shirts on there you like, use my coupon code or link. You get 10% off those. And I'll see you later. Bye.